letting people populate the Zoom room if you're watching live. Hi, I'm Kathryn Jean Lopez from the National Review Institute, and I'm so happy to welcome you on behalf of NRI and the Napa Institute. We're co-sponsoring this event, and we are talking about the Camino, Santiago, the Journey Within, is a movie that is coming out on Tuesday. And I am so delighted to have Bishop Coakley from Oklahoma City, Bishop Conley from Lincoln, Nebraska, Bishop Wall from Gallup, New Mexico, and Bishop Donald Hying from Madison, who is the narrator of this beautiful movie about the Camino. And if you know about the Camino, if you've walked the Camino, it's about more than a pilgrimage. It's about the contemplative life. And we're going to start with a little trailer from the movie. If we can get that up. Here we go. There we go. Okay, well, I apologize. We didn't get the audio there. I want to say to you, though, one of the things that made me so excited about this film is the beauty of the images. And I want to bring on Bishop Donald Hying to talk a little bit about why you were happy to be a part of this movie, because I think you can testify as much as anyone to how beautiful this film is. And your
thanks,
voice
Kathryn.
is a part of it.
Yeah, thanks, Kathryn. Yeah, Erin Berghaus, who created the film, is an artist, a musician. She wrote and performed most of the music in the film. She's a convert to Catholicism. And in the summer of 2017, I walked the Camino for the first time with about 30 young people, mostly from the Diocese of Gary, Indiana, where I was, and also Archdiocese of Milwaukee. And Erin came along with a film crew. And the film is really almost like a still life contemplative experience. And all of us who have walked the Camino know just its spiritual power. We also know that many people that walk it don't necessarily do it for ostensibly religious reasons. And yet there's something transcendent that really opens the heart. And it really is emblematic of our whole understanding as Christians of pilgrimage. You know, every earthly pilgrimage we embrace is really a symbol of our ultimate pilgrimage to heaven. And so to journey, to walk each day, to encounter fellow pilgrims on the way to the tomb of St. James, to be in connection with the apostolic fruitfulness of those first followers of Christ that spread to the ends of the earth, and to know that this route has been walked by millions of people for well over 1,000 years. I mean, all of that just breathes Catholicism to us, and the experience of God in our senses. And I know the my three brother bishops who are kindly joining us on this video call walked the Camino together last year. But I know everybody that's walked it would say it's changed us, it's impacted us.
And what you were just saying, the film really takes you on the real retreat that you went on, the real pilgrimage you went on, and has the sights and the sounds and some of the encounters that you had. And so there's a real integrity to the film in that way.
It has an evangelizing power too, I think, for people that may not be religious. I know, for example, the Nordic Film Festival in Denmark picked it up last summer, and they were interested in it from a travel perspective. So I think things like Camino can really impact people that perhaps are not with the church or necessarily even in relationship with Christ. And it becomes a moment to really allow the spiritual beauty of this ancient path to open people's hearts to God. And that's really what the film does. If you can't walk the Camino, this certainly gives you the sensory experience of almost being there.
Well, I know when I watched the preview of the film, I didn't know what I was getting into. And what was remarkable to me was, here we are nearing the end of Lent, but also at a time where there's so much noise. Is simply, if you're looking for a little peace, this movie, I think, will bring people into some contemplation that they're probably desiring. I was at a conference a week or so ago where someone was talking about the success of the Bible in the Year podcast, right? Mm-hmm. And no offense to Father Mike Schmitz, but he's reading the Bible. I think that speaks to how hungry people are for something more, and thanks be to God, he's reading the Bible. But it really does speak to the desire that people have, the thirst people have for something more. Bishop Conley, I want to go to you because first of all, if you haven't seen, if you're watching this live, do feel free to notice the YouTube link to the trailer that we couldn't quite hear. But Bishop Conley, when I was informed about this movie, I was really excited because I was watching you on the Camino on your Facebook page. You shared images and meditations from your Camino this August with Bishop Coakley and Bishop Wall, and so you must have been really excited to see this and to be able to share more about your own pilgrimage.
Yes, it was, first of all, Bishop Hying, thanks for inviting us to be on. Kathryn, it's good to be with you. And Archbishop Coakley and Bishop Wall and I, that was actually the third time the three of us had walked a portion of the Camino. And so we kind of are Camino junkies, I guess you'd say, every time I've been on the Camino, it's a new experience, a different experience. And so I was very excited when, I was able to watch view the film. And, I think the thing that struck me was, first of all, the beauty of the film. And it really does take you into, as much as you can by film, by a movie, into what the experience of the Camino is. And also, and that includes the music and the cinematography. It's just excellent. And also the fact that it's so very Catholic, and you mentioned it too. A lot of people, I'd say, and I'm sure that Archbishop Coakley and Bishop Wall would agree with me, and Bishop Hying, that I'd say most people on the Camino don't have a clue, really what this is. That the guy at the end is an apostle of Jesus Christ. And this is a Christian Catholic pilgrimage that goes back over 1,000 years. Most people are doing it for whatever reason. And so the film, I think, really drives home the true nature of this pilgrimage and the history of it. And it's so very Catholic, in a way that's not in your face or anything. I mean, it's very, very presented very, very lovingly and winningly. And I think that's why, we've all seen a lot of the films on the Camino, and there are a lot of them really good films. like The Way with Martin Sheen. I think it's a great film. I recommend that to everybody. But this one is, I think we all agree, the three of us that walk the Camino, this is the best thing that's been done on the Camino. So I'm really excited about the film, and I'm hoping that it's going to encourage more people to consider doing the Camino. Yeah, it was great.
The film is just this beautiful human encounter. I can't recommend it enough. And my only credential for the Camino is that I went to one of the churches in Spain, and I don't know if that counts for anything. Archbishop Coakley, you had like foot surgery before you went on this Camino, so you had a couple of challenges, right?
Well, actually, that was
last time.
Conley.
That was me.
Oh, that was you. Oh, that was you. So you got lost at one point.
I did. Yeah, I got lost at one point, and I was the guy with the surgery, so I was kind of hobbling along behind. Yeah. So
But you told a beautiful story in some interview. I'm sorry, I confused the two of you. But about getting lost and encountering these people off the way, right?
Right. Yeah. See, I was lagging behind because I was, I wasn't kind of keeping up with these guys, and so I kind of got lost my way and ended up in this little village. And these guys were working on a building on these scaffolding, and I said, they obviously could see I was lost, and I said, "The Camino, donde el Camino?" And so they pointed, down there a mile, you got to turn and cross the bridge and you get back on the Camino. So, that was kind of, I was about an hour and a half. I was behind you guys.
Oh, wow. Well, part of my fear of the Camino is you can't like go on your Uber app and get yourself out of the quandary you're in. But Archbishop Coakley, can you talk to part of the beauty of the experience of the Camino, and why people who maybe aren't going to do the pilgrimage would want to see the movie in the first place?
Well, I'm not sure what originally attracted me to want to walk the Camino, the way. I was aware of it. I think as you meet people along the Camino, everybody has their own motivation, their own reason for wanting to walk the Camino. It's a big commitment for most people, especially if they choose to walk the whole of it. But one thing that you hear often is it's my Camino, or it's your Camino. Everybody's Camino is different because people are experiencing different things. People are at a different moment in their own Camino of their life, their own way of discipleship. So I think that's the beauty of it, that it's kind of a visible image of the whole Christian life, the life of Christian discipleship and all that entails. So I think it's anybody that might be interested in history or in culture or in Christian spirituality or the apostles. This film offers a lot for the viewer to enter into what the nature of the Camino is, the interior Camino, the inward journey that is a part of the Christian life. It's this inner journey that's made manifest through the walking of the way. So I just think it's so well done. As somebody, Bishop Conley, I think alluded to already, it's the best thing I've seen on the Camino. I enjoyed The Way with Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez also, but this is just of a different sort. This is more explicitly Christian and Catholic, and I think it's just really a wonderful testament and a wonderful tool for enhancing our own Lenten journey. I mean, Lent is a Camino. It's a 40-day path way through this holy penitential season toward Easter, toward the celebration of the Paschal Mystery. So I heartily recommend.
Well, that's exactly why I'm so enthusiastic about this film. It's because it's not necessarily, I mean, it is about St. James and Spain and that Camino, but it's about the Christian life, and that's something that we we need all the help we can get on journeying on. And so I'm really grateful for the existence of this film. And I do hope that people who never even plan to go to Spain watch this movie, because it really will be to their benefit. Bishop Wall, what drew you to the Camino, and what makes you enthusiastic about this film?
St. James the Greater is my patron saint. So I've been wanting to go on the Camino for quite a long time. And thankfully I found a couple willing participants in my brothers. And so this was for me, and as well as Archbishop Coakley, this was our 5th time. And the two of us we were doing our mileage about 840 miles together. And I think one of the things that, obviously the first thing that attracted me was St. James, my patron. The second thing that attracted me was just the whole physical aspect of it. You can make it however difficult as you'd like to make it. You can pace yourself, or you can make it really, really extreme. And I think we fall somewhere in the middle of all that. I guess the one thing that really is attractive to me is there's lots and lots of silence. There's a lot of people on the Camino, but there's lots of time for silence. Most of the time when we walk together, we're kind of separated by few yards here or there, but a lot of times we just walk in silence. If we want to come together, we talk. If we want to come together to pray, we'll do that. And so there's all sorts of opportunities to do that. And the movie just pulled me right back. I loved it, absolutely loved it. I love the music. I love the cinematography, the narration, which Hying did an outstanding job. And I remember when I was watching, I'm like, I know that voice. Why do I know that voice? Well, I know that voice. And it was just outstanding. It's an outstanding movie. I got to preview it at the beginning of Lent. I think it's a perfect movie for throughout the year, but still, because it truly is just a beautiful spiritual movie. And I think it does draw us into the mysteries of Christ's suffering, death, and resurrection.
The water and the music, there's so many things that bring you into the greater beauty of creation, and that obviously there's more. One of the things that I love about the movie is being able to talk about your own August Camino. And as you said, there's this element of quiet and contemplation, but there's also the element of fellowship. And if one of you want to talk about, so there's a pilgrim mass at night, is my understanding, and you were in civilian clothes, so people didn't necessarily know you were bishops. How is that whole dynamic? Maybe Bishop Wall, do you want to?
Yeah, it's so every night there's a pilgrim mass in most of the places, generally about 6 or 7 o'clock, and people come together for mass, Catholics, non-Catholics, and it's a beautiful thing. And so when we're walking through the day, we're dressed in civvies, and nobody really knows who we are. And so I can remember one instance when we were walking one of the Caminos. There was a couple we were walking with, and a lady was with them. And we walked out for mass, vested for the mass. And the one lady, you could have just knocked her over. She was so surprised to find out who we were. And the word starts to travel too, that there's some bishops or there's some priests with us. And so it starts to move along, which it's great. It opens you up to all sorts of great conversations, because as like Archbishop Coakley was saying, people they bring all sorts of different intentions. They're on the Camino for different reasons, all sorts of different things. That opens you up to some great conversations, whether you're just walking along and or sitting down having a coffee with somebody. And the other thing too, I think about the walk is it can be a bit draining, and that tiredness can open you up to maybe
Right.
sharing things in your life. And so we have some really great, meaningful conversations with people.
Well, I myself just got back from Israel, the Holy Land, and there's that aspect of both the prayer time and the total exhaustion of the walking the old city that really is, it's refreshment that you can't get any other way. But I also think this film captures a little bit of that experience, which is pretty remarkable. Bishop Conley, if you don't mind, you've talked publicly about your own struggles. One of the things I was on the Catholic channel yesterday talking about this movie and talking about this conversation. And one of the things I was trying to convey without being anti-clerical was like, you're real people. One of the things, talking about we're going to talk about 4 bishops. And I wonder if that even turns people off. But there's something, if you all don't mind, there's something so honest and vulnerable and brotherly and fatherly about all 4 of you, has been my impression. And Bishop Conley, can you just talk about why it was important for you to share some of your struggles in the last couple of years? Because it really does help people on their union to Christ.
Absolutely. No, it's especially today, I think, and especially with young people. And I've noticed that it just since coming back from my own time away, people all know I took 11 months off, a leave of absence to kind of see to my own mental health, the pressures and stress and anxiety of being a bishop, kind of just became overwhelming to me. And so I had to take time away. And Archbishop Coakley and Bishop Wall were very supportive of me during that time. And we, having walked the Camino before, we, especially when I was away, and then actually they were on the Camino the last time when I was getting ready to kind of take a leave. And we proposed going on this in, about a year and a half after I came back. And, it was something I looked forward to, and I was able to, really kind of part of my recovery as well, to look forward to something to do like this, which was very physical, but also very fraternal. And then one of the things that really, I think, at least especially last August, was, we are so, again, this is kind of ironic, we're on technology now, but we're so inundated by technology, we're in front of screens all the time. And there's this virtual reality that lives in our minds. And then we have these expectations and pressures put upon us, and it's this information coming at us all the time, 24/7. And for me, it just became overwhelming, and I had to step away. And being on the Camino last August was, again, another key part of my recovery, in the sense that puts you in contact with real things and real people, encountering real people from all walks of life with a kind of a common, certainly with my case, with common friends, common faith. And, and I think that's something that people struggle with today more than perhaps in generations before, because we have, that's the irony of social media, is that we're more connected than we've ever been, and we're more isolated and lonely and sad than we've ever been before. And the Camino is anything but that. You've got this community of people that are helping each other, walking with each other, accompanying each other, talking to each other, and that's just healthy human interaction. And I think that's what I see is a remedy for the struggles that we're having in a whole area of mental health.
And it is amazing, as you intimate, here we are on Zoom and YouTube, and, we're talking about a film. There are all these ways to connect, but there's nothing like the actual human encounter. And Bishop Hying, one of the things that I was really struck by in the film is just these human encounters you have with people from all over the world, which you couldn't have orchestrated. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the one that stands out is the South Korean couple. And we kept running into each other all along. And the husband does a beautiful job of articulating, his whole metamorphosis, transformation in walking the Camino. But for me, that's the centerpiece of the film, is folks like that. And you see in his narration and his experience how at home he was pressured, he was disconnected, he was sad, all these negative things in his life. And being on the Camino opened him up to realize the giftedness of his life, the nearness of God, the beauty of his wife and family, and just that sense of gratitude and the realization of his life as a gift. And as Bishop Conley was saying, to be in touch with real things in nature and in history and in spirituality, all of that just is deeply healing for people that walk the Camino. So I just think it's a physical journey, it's a spiritual journey. You look at this beautiful geography, but also this inner spiritual geography. But you can see in the film, it's all sorts of people walking the Camino for all sorts of reasons from all over the world. And yet in all of it, somehow God is speaking to them. And you find yourself praying for the people that you encounter and realize, we're all walking together towards the mystery of the divine.
I just want to mention, again, we're talking about this film, Santiago, The Camino Within. It's going to be in theaters on Tuesday. And I encourage people, if you have any way to go to the theaters on Tuesday, please support this film, not out of charity, but because it's going to benefit your life. Bishop Coakley, can you talk a little bit how this movie and just meditating on pilgrimage might be a benefit to people at this moment in Lent?
Well, as I said a little while ago, that Lent is really all about a pilgrimage, and the word Camino simply means a path, a way, and so we're all walking the way of the Lord Jesus. We're walking this path, and I think the film is very evocative. At least it was for me, putting me in touch with the experiences of my own life, not just from the numerous Caminos that I've been able to do with Bishop Wall and Bishop Conley, but just the spiritual journey that my vocation has led me upon as a bishop, as a priest, over the many years. Bishop Wall said there's lots of opportunities for silence and reflection as one walks the Camino. Lent is a time for silence and reflection and prayer, and considering the pace of our lives, considering the direction of our lives, to enter more prayerfully and reflectively into the experiences of each and every day. Maybe ask some of the questions. Is my journey, my Camino, leading me in the direction I want to be going? I mean, there's just kind of these real questions, these bigger questions surface certainly during this season of Lent, as they surface very often in the silence that is offered as the experience of walking the Camino in Spain, or any other way. It's just putting one in touch with the real world, both the physical world and the spiritual world. Is feeling the walking out as you begin a morning's walk before the sun comes up, looking up and seeing the stars, the Milky Way overhead, and just those are not things that most of us have the experience of doing in our daily lives. We're so kind of insulated from the real world, the natural world, but also that draws us into the supernatural world, the invisible world. So all of those things kind of come together, as they have for me, as I reflected upon my experience of the Camino, which the film certainly drew me right into. So it's a beautiful experience, beautiful film, reflection of life.
Well, what I found was watching the preview of the Santiago, the Camino Within, was just walking on the streets of Manhattan. I just kind of looked at people differently, like I wanted to get to know people, which can be dangerous in New York, mind you, but just like this appreciation that we all have something to offer one another. And that's part of why I really enjoyed watching your Facebook posts, Bishop Conley, because it's, bishops are people too, not to be, silly. Like we all need friendship and fellowship and quiet, yes, too. And Bishop Hying, you obviously are happy that this movie captures a little bit of that need for even strangers to encounter one another.
Absolutely. And you realize every single person is just this complex world. There's just experiences, emotions. You look at a person on the subway or standing next to you in line, and there's this whole universe within that person. And here's a soul that God created. Here's somebody made for God. Here's somebody that is made for loving. Here's someone who, in whatever way they've experienced it, is looking for meaning, looking for God, looking for their desires to be satisfied by what this world cannot ever satisfy. And part of being on the Camino is meeting people that are in all different stages of that spiritual development, perhaps, and yet realizing our commonality as children of God. And again, I found myself always praying for the people that I met that day, that God would give them whatever spiritual gifts they needed, whatever intentions they were carrying, whatever wounds or crosses were within them. And it's that human encounter that opens us up to our common humanity and the fact that we're all children of God. And on the Camino, people are just more naturally human, maybe more vulnerable, because we're all walking for miles. We're all hurting physically at the end of the day. We're all hungry at night. So it puts us in touch with our vulnerabilities. And I think there's a great phrase that says, people forgive us for our strengths, they love us for our weaknesses. So there's a sense of shared vulnerability, perhaps, and neediness on the Camino, where in regular life at home, you can be trapped in this self-sufficiency, kind of this vacuum sealed emptiness. And things like the Camino just humanize us.
Yeah, there's something about that in any kind of retreat kind of setting. I definitely can reflect on that from my trip a couple of weeks ago. Bishop Wall, what is it that you want people to know about this film, Santiago, the Camino Within?
I would say, first of all, the beauty. It's a beautiful film. And it gives you a real taste of the Camino itself. So if you're never able to go on the Camino, I think it really does. It's a good summation of the Camino. But then I also think it might start a little fire in you that would want you to go, or maybe start planning. And if anybody's ever thinking about going to the Camino, just go. That's the best thing to do. It's the best way to do it if you're able to go. But I think the film is great about that. Again, if you're able to go, I think it's going to start a fire in you. If you can never go, it gives you a real good sense for it. And then when other people go on the Camino, if you talk to other people, you can help you to relate to it a little more.
Well, we have people in the chat who are watching live who I see there's at least one couple who are thinking for their anniversary going on the Camino. Do you have any pastoral advice? Maybe Bishop Coakley?
For the couple married 50 years, I think it's
yes. Isn't that awesome?
A second honeymoon. No, what a beautiful idea. What a beautiful way to celebrate the Camino of life, which 50 years of holy marriage have been, because with any Camino, whether it's the journey that one lives in marriage or as ordained minister, priest, deacon, bishop, or just walking the Camino. There's going to be all kinds of experiences, good and bad, richer and poorer, bringing all of that to the Lord and reflecting upon it in a deeper way. So I think it's a beautiful way to celebrate a special anniversary.
Well, and one of the things that the film brings out is, again, just so much of the beauty on the way on the Camino. It's really remarkable how the film captures that. Bishop Conley, one of the other questions in the chat is it different for bishops? I mean, I don't know how you even answer that, because you can't not be a bishop, but being a successor to the apostles, there must be some added element to walking the way of St. James.
That's true. I mean, from a personal point of view, as bishops, all three of us talked about that a lot, that we felt that there was a certain draw, as a bishop, to go to the tomb of a fellow bishop, a fellow apostle, from whom we are successors. And so in that sense, it takes on a particular meaning, I think, for us as bishops, because of the fact that it's to St. James, one of the apostles, who's also my namesake. I took the little guy. I'm St. James the Lesser. We're going to St. James the Greater, but I claim them both sometimes. And I think that at the same time, it's a great equalizer, in the sense that, like you were saying, we're all human, and that common human dimension of humanity really it comes home when we're walking with pilgrims from all over the world. Yes, we're bishops, but also we're human beings and Christians and disciples. And I would just pick up on something that Archbishop Coakley mentioned, that with this couple that celebrated her 50th, we end up running, bumping in and getting to know certain people. And there was a couple this last August from Tulsa, Oklahoma, that we ran into, and we kept bumping into them and, having dinner with them and everything. And they were 75 years old. He had just had a full knee replacement.
Wow.
And, and they were troopers, 2 knee replacements. Yeah. And they were troopers. So I would just say, that, and it comes out in the film, that guy was he from Ireland, Bishop Hying, or Scotland?
Oh, right.
Remember that guy with the canes? You run into people. If people are thinking, I could never do that, I'm not an athlete, I can't do, it's too much. But, if you can walk, now, if you can't walk, I suppose you can't go on it. Although there's people in wheelchairs, there's people in wheelchairs that do it. So anybody, I would say anybody could do it. So don't let that, sort of physical barrier prevent you from considering walking the Camino.
Well, we do have a couple of questions in the chat about if you can't do it. And I think part of the essential beauty of this film is that if you can't do it, it is being brought to you in Santiago, the Camino Within. You really get such a sense of what it's like, including the physical vulnerability. That Bishop Hying, I was really struck by, in some of your narration and conversation, it's really brought out. And I really do feel like, and again, the timing of this release on Tuesday, I think, is so important, because I think a lot of people are desperate for a little reset in Lent, and to really be drawn deeper into contemplation and some kind of new sense of our union with Jesus, and the movie is a real help in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important too to remember that the Camino has the destination of the tomb of St. James. So as wondrous as the walk is, for me, having walked that far to get to Santiago de Compostela and to see the just overwhelming beauty of the cathedral and to pray in front of the tomb, it really is this sense of coming to the heavenly Jerusalem almost. And I was blessed to celebrate Mass at the main altar on the Sunday of Divine Mercy. The second time I went, we went right after Easter. And then I also was able to celebrate it on the Solemnity of the Annunciation, tomorrow being March 25th. And I think it's in that final destination when we actually get there that you appreciate even more every encounter and experience you had on the way there. And again, just walking into the cathedral, we made the donation so that they stoked up the censer for us at the end of Mass. I forget the name of it. But these 8 men in these special uniforms, pull on ropes. And I got to stoke that up after the end of Mass, and it's going about 70 miles an hour when it's cutting in front of you on the altar, and was praying that the rope was good and strong. But part of it is looking out at the cathedral filled with people from all over the world. And here we are connected to one of the 12 apostles who knew Jesus Christ, who came all the way from Jerusalem to Spain to tell people about Christ who had never heard of him. And I'm especially inspired when St. James gets discouraged and wants to go home, and the Blessed Mother appears to him at Zaragoza, Our Lady of the Pillar. And it just reminds us that we too can be discouraged at times, and Mary is there with us. So I think it's important to mention the Marian element, because I truly felt Blessed Mother walking with us, just as she was with St. James in Spain.
Well, and for non-Catholics who are watching this, does someone want to speak to, there's so many misunderstandings about Mary and what Catholics believe about Mary. Why is she so important? Maybe Bishop Wall, would you like to?
Well, she's the model disciple, right? She was really the first to say yes to our Lord in her beautiful fiat. She's the mother of our Lord, and she's as the church calls her, she's the model disciple. And so, I think sometimes people will look at a non-Catholic Christian will look at us and see Mary as a bit of an add-on, but no, she's really central to our faith, to our Christian faith, because again, she was the first to give the beautiful fiat. She was the one at the wedding feast of Cana that said to do whatever it is that he tells you to do. She remained faithful at the cross, and we know that she's been given to us by our Lord as our mother, and we know that she's interceding for us in heaven. So there's, as Bishop Hying said, there is a very, very strong Marian element to the Camino, and to think that that's the first appearance. When she appeared to St. James because he was discouraged, that's the first appearance of Our Lady. And so that's a very, very important, in Zaragoza, that's a very important Marian shrine.
Pope Francis talks over and over again about the church as our mother, and the church can't be our mother without a mother. And so Mary is obviously so essential. I think we could go on. There's so many questions, and we could go on for hours talking about the Camino and this beautiful film. But we're going to give the trailer one more try. I am given the confidence that we might hear the audio this time.
St. James speaks to us of the power of witness. That the seeds planted by the apostles have taken root.
One of the few places that we can actually truly immerse ourselves in history.
It's about deeper intentions, thinking about our families and what about life is.
Il Camino di Santiago, perché? Perché Santiago era una cosa del Signore.
Lo estoy haciendo principalmente por motivos religiosos, ya que soy muy creyente.
Great experience. It's all meant to be.
Well, I think because we have so many people on, it's interfering with the audio. But I think you got a little taste of it. And if you're signed up, you either saw in the chat or will get an email the trailer. I want to bring on Lisa Wheeler, who's with Carmel Communications. She's the reason I know about this movie and the reason we're doing this. And by some miracle of God, all of us were able to come together today to talk about this movie. Lisa, how can people see it? Lots of people are asking if they can't get to the theaters on Tuesday, what can they do to see this movie, Santiago, the Camino Within? Help us understand.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you to all of the bishops. Thank you, Kathryn, for hosting this. I think it was really a phenomenal conversation that you all had, weaving in the film along with your own experiences along the Camino. So the film is one night only. I know there's been several questions in the chat about if it's playing for more than one night. It is one night only, Tuesday the 28th. But across the country. So most places, most major cities will carry the film on Tuesday. You can get tickets by going to fathomevents.com. That's fathomevents.com, and clicking on the icon for Santiago, the Camino Within, and looking up by zip code your local area of where the film is playing. Beyond that, Ahava Productions, Erin and her team, Erin Berghaus is a filmmaker that Bishop Hying mentioned earlier. She and her team are working on, how the film may be available, following this theatrical opportunity, because the hope is that they can get this film out not only theatrically here in the United States, but also in other places around the world, since the Camino is, it's a global experience for anyone in any culture, any country, to do so. So I would pay attention to the Ahava Productions web page. If you go to Ahava Productions web page, and I think they will have updates there on how the film will be available in what we call downstream, so post-theatrical on either DVD or available on streaming, and some of those options in the future. But what we want most of all is to encourage people to come out on Tuesday night. The more people that see it will lead to more opportunities to show it as well in the future. So tell friends, family members. I've encouraged the bishops to buy out theaters in their dioceses, and I would ask for people to do that, to take groups out next week, because it really is of a lot of the films that Carmel works on. It's one of the most extraordinary and beautiful documentaries that we've ever worked on. Not just because it's about the Camino, but just because it's just beautifully shot. It's music is beautiful. It's an experience, and it's an experience that you can have right in your own city. So
well, I have to highlight again, Lisa, that I don't necessarily watch all the movies that are recommended to me, but I know that I can trust you, and you really have a love for this film, and for good reason. And so I want to thank Archbishop Coakley, Bishop Hying, Bishop Conley, and Bishop Wall for making the time to talk about this movie, but also for your love of Jesus and your desire to help people. We so often, when we hear about the Catholic Church in the news, it's not necessarily good news, right? And it gives people the sense that there's something else going on, but there are good men and there are good women, and we, Lisa, you're part of this, you know, with a beautiful family and adopted children and from foster care, you know, work that we really need to highlight more and more and more. And so anyway, thank you all on behalf of the Napa Institute and the National Review Institute for taking the time. And please share this. If you're watching this live or you're watching this on YouTube, please share this conversation, both to encourage good filmmakers, to encourage a deeper walk in faith, and to get people out to the movies. God bless you. Thank you.